Welcome back to Intercultural Communication Week 2. This is an exciting week where we begin to read our textbook and delve into the imperatives as to why we should study intercultural communication. An imperative is basically something that is of utmost importance. There's an urgent need. There's a great reason why we should study intercultural communication. And we'll be talking about those reasons in just a moment. But before I begin with that conversation, let's talk about your assessments this week. You'll begin with Quiz 1, which covers Chapter 1 and my videos, and that's due at the end of the week. Additionally, you'll be engaged in a discussion board conversation, and the topic is Stella Ting Toomey and her discussion of intercultural barriers. So you'll do some individual investigation outside of class, and you may look at the CWI library for resources as well as the internet. There's a plethora of information available on Stella and on her theories and discussion. So engage in that research, and then you'll come back and write a 1 to 2 paragraph response to discussion board by midweek for your peers to review, for me to review, and then you'll proceed to answering and asking some questions of your peers. And finally, you'll be engaged in a journal entry. And in the journal, you will be looking at the video that is in week 2 of Blackboard that also discusses intercultural barriers. So take some time to review that, and then you'll provide a journal entry for my eyes only. All of this is due this week, and I'm excited for you to be engaged in this learning process, and I look forward to seeing you for our class meeting. So let's go back to the imperatives of intercultural communication and why we should study it. The first is a peace imperative. If we look historically into what has caused conflict, we have seen that there's wars, and wars basically break down to disagreements from culture, from a variety of different people regarding how they see the world. And worldview consists of our values and our belief system. And it's something that we begin to learn at a very young age as we start to see the world. Those around us, our families, our teachers, our caregivers, begin to influence the way we see the world. And we take that information, it becomes our reality or the way that we see the world. And oftentimes, if these are conflicting between people, it begins to cause tension. And over time, if there is enough tension that occurs, then we break into situations of conflict. In order for our world to be peaceful, we don't have to necessarily change our worldview. We can believe what we want to believe, but we need to be able to allow other people to also have their worldview and their experiences as long as they aren't harming other people. And so a lot of times we think that whatever we believe should also be the beliefs of our friends and our neighbors, and that's not necessarily the case. So to be a good steward of communication and of life, we need to allow people to have their own perspective and their own worldview. So that's one of the reasons that we research intercultural communication. Additionally, we have an economic imperative. We no longer live in a world that's broken down geographically by countries, and we live within an isolated country. We're part of a larger global village, and that global village is conducting business. So we're conducting business with people who are all over the world. And so understanding differences, understanding cultural worldviews, cultural syndromes, a syndrome is a symptom of that culture, helps us to be better communicators and to be quite successful in our business dealings. We also need to think about the technological imperative. As technology has developed, and even more specifically over the last decade, we begin to see that it's no longer expensive or out of reach for us to communicate with people elsewhere around the globe. And so technology has really brought everyone into your personal space. And because of this, understanding one another globally is imperative or of essence. There's also a demographic imperative within our country. In the United States, we have always been a melting pot where people from many different countries can come and reside in our country. And because of that, we've always had diversity, but it's rising even further. And in the next decade, the fastest growing population is that of Hispanic population. And so understanding those differences, whether you're a member of Hispanic culture or not, is something that is imperative to your success to function in a global society. And finally, we have self-awareness and ethical considerations. We understand ourselves better when we can really break things down. We can break down constructive and critical thinking. And we can look at who we are and why we believe the way we do about certain items. Sometimes those looking inside of ourselves increases the feelings that we already have and our views of a variety of different topics. In other cases, understanding and looking beyond the confines that we've grown and been raised with allows us to open our mind and our opportunity to consider other things. And so it helps us to develop as a whole person. And then ethically, as creatures of this world, as human beings, we have an ethical responsibility to understand all of the people in the world and to understand that they are part of human ecology and what makes us special as a human race on the earth. So I hope you enjoy reading chapter 1, spend some time with the imperatives, and then complete your quiz at the end of the session. Thank you and have a good week.